What's up YouTube, Capital G here, checking out the second batch of Senka support. You guys remember Senka, new archetype that's going to be released in Ignition Assault. Their Beast Warrior type and their attribute pool is pretty much all over the place. I kind of like Senka and I find them very interesting because they are very retro in the way that they feel. They're just a pure, straight up beatdown archetype. You know, I usually say caveman Yu-Gi-Oh! They don't feel like they're, a bunch of nonsense where you're doing a bunch of link spamming or any of that stuff. They have no extra deck monsters, so I think that also keeps them kind of simplified. They remind me very much of like either Bujins or maybe Six Samurai, but Six Samurai from the GX era, not like the 5D Samurais when Storm of Ragnarok came out and they got synchros and all that good stuff. I think that they feel very old school and I kind of like that. I also think that them being Beast Warrior and the way that they work, Tenki is ridiculous in the deck because you get the search with it and then also use it as fodder. Anyways, let's go ahead and check out their new support. They have a bunch of high-level monsters, which is fine because they have multiple ways of summoning these high-level monsters from the hand, etc., etc. The first card, I believe, is the true boss monster of the archetype. I'm saying that because it's level 8. It's also currently the highest attack monster in the archetype at 3,000 attack. This is Senka Chief Cao D. I'm probably going to mispronounce some of these names because I think they're Chinese. Anyways, this is a fire attribute Beast Warrior monster, level 8, 3,000 attack, 2,500 defense. First and third are both hard once per turn. First effect, if a card or cards your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effects, you can send one other card from your hand or field to the graveyard. That's a cost. Special summon this card from your hand. Second effect, cannot be targeted by or destroyed by an opponent's card effect while you control another Senka monster. Third effect, when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon it to your field in defense position. I'm gonna be honest, this card looks kind of powerful, but I don't really like it that much for a couple of reasons. Number one, the third effect, where if I run over an opponent's monster, I get to summon it back from the graveyard. It has to be in defense mode. I don't feel like that's going to be very useful in a deck that doesn't have any extra deck cards. Also, you can't revive link monsters, if I'm not mistaken, because they can't be in defense mode, so that's like another problem with that effect. It doesn't actually help you kill your opponent, which this is a blind go second deck that just wants to like rush your opponent down. It doesn't really feel like this effect kind of benefits them. Like you're getting a resource for your next turn, but who cares about that? Just try to win that turn. I also look at the summoning condition of this card. I'm not completely in love with it because it has to, like, you have to destroy something on your opponent's side of the field even to summon this card. I feel like if it was just give up a card from your hand or from your field, then special summon it, it would have been way better because then you would have been able to use something like a Tenki, as I said earlier. Now, this card does still synergize with cards like Tenki and also their continuous spell card, the one that pretty much acts like Tenki. Whenever you normal or special summon a Senka, you get to search for a different name Senka monster, so you can use that card to kind of special summon this card. It's nice, but I just feel like that summoning condition is a little too situational. I don't think you should have had to destroy anything to special summon this guy. It's not like you would have been able to spam 2-3 copies of this card because it is a hard once per turn on that summon condition. So I feel like they're not gonna play this card, in my opinion. I think the next monster is actually kind of like a better mini boss monster. This is Senka Herald Zhang Yuan, and it is a fire beast warrior monster, level 6, 2300 attack, 2000 defense, and your first and third are also both hard once per turns. Your first effect says at the beginning of the damage step, when a Senka monster you control battles an opponent's face up monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do that, the opponent's monster loses 1000 attack. Second effect, Senka monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle except this card. Third effect, if an opponent's card or cards is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. Okay, this feels way easier to use than the last boss monster. Number one, it's a lot easier to summon. All you have to do is essentially be battling an opponent's monster that's face up, and then you get to summon this guy. You also get to debuff your opponent's monster by 1000 attack that is non-targeting. It can be used during either player's turn, which is also kind of nice. The fact that your Senka monsters can't be destroyed by battle is also kind of useful because Senka have this card, it's a level 4 called Lu Quan, where if another Senka monster is battling like an opponent's monster, you you get to draw cards. So basically, you can just ram your little Senka monsters into your opponent's bigger monsters, just if nothing else, to draw cards. Seems kind of nice. And then even the third effect feels better as well. Like if you destroy one of your opponent's cards on the field, rather than monster reborning their crappy monster in defense mode where it's kind of useless, like I don't want to do that. Just let me blow one of their cards up. Like that feels also more useful in a blind go second deck, because now instead of having to attack all their monsters, I can just run over one of their monsters and then just blow up another monster so that my Senka monsters are, maybe able to attack them directly. So this card just feels fundamentally better than their core boss monster. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but honestly, that's just my first impression of these cards. I think that this one is like, it just feels like a better boss monster for the archetype that's easier to use. Next up is Senka Machinator Jiawin. This is a Fire Beast Warrior monster. It's a level 4, 1100 attack, 1800 defense. Your first and second are both hard once per turn. Your first effect says you can target one continuous spell / trap you control. That's a cost. Send it to the graveyard, and if you do, have the attack of 2 face-up monsters until the end of this turn. Second effect, if an opponent's card or cards is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one Senka card in your graveyard except another copy of Jiawin, add it to your hand. Okay, so this is like even more proof that this is a blind go second deck, because you kind of, like, if you're going to use your first effect to debuff 2 of your opponent's monsters to cut their attacks in half, obviously you're not looking to go first. Like, you want your opponent to have monsters on the field. This seems fairly easy enough to use. I mean, again, you can use things like Tenki that have already served their purpose. This archetype has continuous spells that, they have benefits when they're sent to the graveyard. We're actually about to talk about one of them momentarily. This feels like probably a one of in the archetype, but I could definitely see this as a breaking board type card, like a card that helps you potentially push for game, because your opponent could even have, big 3000 attack link monsters, but if you cut their attacks to like 1500, you can easily stomp over those things. Next up is a pretty solid card. This is your Senka Strategist, Hugong. I probably mispronounced that, but again, it's Chinese archetype. It's a win attribute Beast Warrior monster, level 4, 1000 attack, 2000 defense, and all your effects are hard once per turn. First effect, if this card is added from your deck to your hand by a Senka card effect, you can special summon this card. Second effect, when a spell / trap is activated, this is a quick effect, you can send one face-up Senka continuous spell / trap you control to the graveyard. That's also a cost. Negate that activation. And then the third effect says when a monster effect is activated and you control Senka Noble Lu Quan, which is the level 4 win monster in the archetype, the one that lets you like draw based on other Senka monsters attacking, you can send one face-up Senka continuous spell or trap to the graveyard, also a cost. Negate that activation. Alright, so monster negation, spell and trap negation, and can special summon itself off of its first effect, all in this one package. It feels like the trifecta. I think of those 3 effects, I mean, I'm really loving that spell and trap negation effect, because this deck, as I said earlier, I believe is going to be a blind go second deck. You're looking to try to push through your opponent's established board, and usually being able to stop those Widow Anchors or whatever other crap and permanents your opponent wants to throw at you is going to be invaluable. Like, basically just negating spells and traps is so important for blind go second decks. I think that the monster effect negation can be very valuable as well, but I don't know, it's so bizarre that you need one specific Senka monster on the field to use that effect. I don't know what that's about. I mean, I get it. It's like, if I'm not mistaken, one of the ultra rares in the archetype from Ignition Assault. It's the one that's, if another Senka monster is like attacking, you get to draw a card. I think that's so bizarre that it's built into one monster. I do like if it's added from a Senka effect, you get to special summon it, which I believe that can be used off of Lu Quan, because Lu Quan lets you draw. I believe that if you draw this card off of Lu Quan, that you can special summon it even in like the battle phase, which seems pretty nice. But even outside of that, there are 2 other kind of like rotas for this archetype. There is the Senka Sun Mu that just, you send a card and then you get to search another Senka monster, so that can obviously summon this card easily. And then there's the 3 visits, which it's kind of like a little bit of a scuffed Tenki for the archetype. If you normal or special summon a Senka monster while it's face up, you get to add a Senka that has a different name. So obviously you could like normal summon one of the level 4s and then use your 3 visit to instantly summon the card from the hand that was just added. So seems kind of nice. It kind of makes me wonder maybe if Utopia like double could be an option, because it seems like fairly easy to get 2 level 4s on the field now. It seems like you should be able to go into like the Utopia double package fairly easily now. Lastly is a new continuous spell for Senka, which they desperately needed in my opinion, because they're only getting 2 of them in Ignition Assault. This is Senka Legend 100,000 Arrows. Both effects are hard once per turn. First effect says you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls and 1 Senka monster you control until the end of this turn, half the opponent's monster's attack, and if you do, that monster you control gains that much attack. Second effect, if this card is sent to the graveyard and you control 2 or more attributes amongst Senka monsters you control, you can place 1 Senka continuous spell / trap directly from your hand or deck face up on your field, except another copy of 100,000 Arrows. Okay, so this is another great card for Senka. It reminds me very much, I think, of Cubic Wave, if I'm not mistaken. This is the type of card that a beatdown archetype is going to need, a card that cuts their opponent's monster in half and then gives your monster more attack. Obviously, super good in a blind go second deck, and I even like the second effect, where if you have a couple of Senkas on the field that have different attributes, then you just get to, you know, get another spell and trap from your deck and put it on the field for freezies, which obviously you can use that card for even more Senka effects, and you can even use it for negation. This definitely feels like it is going to be in the Senka, you know, in the rotation in the main deck, because it's a strong card. I really only think the issue with Senka is going to be, what does the archetype do when they go first? I feel like going first might be a problem, because I don't really know if they're going to have that many plays outside of summoning Strategist and hoping that its negation is good enough to get them there. But overall, it feels like a very good direction for the archetype. I'm a little disappointed by their main boss monster, but I think they're kind of like baby Kalut boss monster. I think he's very legitimate, and it kind of makes up for it. Anyways, whatever you guys think of the new Senka cards, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.